My sister can't have children, but my brother-in-law is desperate for a baby with our DNA. Now she wants me to be their surrogate, and after I refused, my brother-in-law started stalking me, trying to get me pregnant. Plus 4 updates. Can you imagine your own identical twin sister, someone you've shared your entire life with, looking you in the eye and asking for an unimaginable favor, to carry her child? And then, when you say no, her husband starts stalking you, completely obsessed with getting you pregnant himself. What the hell do you do when your family turns into a living nightmare? Hey everyone, so buckle up. Because what I'm about to tell you is absolutely insane, and frankly, I'm still trying to process it all. My identical twin sister, Stacy, and we've always been incredibly close, you know? Our mom actually passed away when we were born, so it was just us and our dad, a real tight-knit unit. I'm 30 now, in a great relationship with my boyfriend, Mike, for 3 years. Stacy, on the other hand, has been married to Jeff for 8 years. Now, Stacy, bless her heart, has always dreamt of being a mom. Like, since we were kids, it was all baby names, nursery themes, wedding ideas. Me? I was more into books and just having fun, honestly. I'm a flight attendant now, even trying to get my own book published. Stacy? She's never really worked. She met Jeff in college, became a stay-at-home girlfriend, then a wife. That was just her path. For years, I knew she and Jeff were trying for a baby. And for years, nothing. Just heartache. She had one miscarriage, which was devastating, and after that, she just couldn't get pregnant again. They poured thousands and thousands of dollars into IVF, trying everything under the sun, because Stacy desperately wanted to experience pregnancy. She didn't want adoption, not really. She was really set on having a child that had both of their DNA. Her words, not mine. And after 5 agonizing years of no success, they started looking at other options. Then, about 3 weeks ago, she came over. We were just doing our usual thing, chatting, watching some TV. She got this really serious look on her face, you know the one? She said she had a serious question, something she needed to ask, while she still had the nerve. My stomach dropped. I was genuinely scared. And then she just asked. She asked me to be her surrogate. I froze. Just completely frozen. I asked, what do you mean? Like, I knew what a surrogate was, obviously, but for me? She just looked at me and said, you know what I mean. I need you to be my surrogate. I tried to explain. She knew I wasn't interested in having kids. Ever. Maybe it's because of how our mom passed during childbirth. Maybe it's just me. But the thought of pregnancy, of having children, has never appealed to me. Not one bit. I told her, Stacy, I would have 0 issue donating my eggs to you. However many you need, you can have them all. But I cannot carry your child. And that's when it hit. Her face turned bright red, and she just erupted. Started screaming, yelling about how I was jealous and hateful, and how this was such a small task. A small task? I didn't want to bring it up, but she'd always talked about having 4 kids. Was I supposed to do this for her every time? I started to feel this awful, gut-wrenching guilt. She finished by saying if I couldn't do this one thing for her, how could I ever call myself her sister? Then she grabbed a picture of us off my mantle, smashed it, and stormed out. Since then, it's been a barrage of texts. Pictures of her childhood diaries, vision boards, all these dreams of a family. Saying I'm stopping her from creating a family for no reason, that I needed to think about the bigger picture. My boyfriend, Mike, bless him, tried to stay out of it. Said it was my sister, and he couldn't sway me on such a touchy subject. Honestly, this was the longest Stacy and I had ever gone without speaking. And I'm not going to lie, I was seriously on the verge of giving in. So, I put this story out there, asking if I was wrong. And the comments, oh my God, they were incredible. So many of you. You made me feel like I wasn't the villain, but I'd be lying if I said that disconnect with my sister wasn't eating me alive. It brought this immense discomfort I couldn't even explain. I saw a lot of recurring questions, and I wanted to clear some things up, hoping for even more insight. First, money. Our mom's death wasn't natural. It was due to medical error. My dad sued, and Stacy and I both have sizable trusts from that money. Jeff is also very well off. So, not working for 9 months, or the cost of egg retrieval, none of that was an issue. This was purely about Stacy's stubbornness. She needed the baby to share our DNA, and for one of us to carry it. Since we're identical, her logic was, if I can't have a baby, how can I? Turns out, Her inability to carry a child was due to a terrible car accident we were in, which also caused the miscarriage she experienced. She was in the front seat with our dad, and they took the brunt of the crash. Her body just couldn't carry a child anymore. An egg retrieval? That was also proving incredibly complicated, not really an option. She found it so hard to discuss non-viable options, so I never fully understood the details until much later. Oh, and here's the kicker. I also found out doctors wouldn't even allow me to be a surrogate because I've never successfully carried a child. This was vital information, something I desperately needed to bring up. We had our usual family dinner coming up, Thursday football night with our dad and our partners. I knew this topic would come up, and I was going to be armed with this fact. Well, I promised an update, and honestly, things moved faster than I thought. 2 days later, my dad called me, asked me to come over for dinner that night. I didn't even ask why. I just knew he'd talk to Stacy. I spoke with Mike about everything, about where his head was if I were to go through with it. He looked me in the eye and said he loved me, would support me through anything. But he absolutely would not stand by while my sister made me feel like trash if I was doing this under coercion. He said he couldn't support that. And honestly, I completely understood. When we got to Dad's, Stacy and Jeff were already there. I greeted both of them, but only Stacy replied. Jeff just gave me this utterly disgusting look and then, like nothing, greeted Mike. The tension in that room, you could cut it with a butcher knife. Dad sat us down and finally just said, "Somebody talk. We need to get this resolved before the game tomorrow night." God, he loves his football. I started by telling Stacy that I'd done some research. Beyond my initial concerns, I now had a few more questions and needed to know exactly what she expected. I asked her, what would being a surrogate actually look like? She just stared at me, then asked, "Are you agreeing to it?" When I said no, I just needed more details, she completely broke down. That's when I hit her with it. "Stacy, do you know that a doctor would deny me from being a surrogate given that I've never successfully carried a child to term?" She knew. She said she knew, and that she'd just send Jeff and me to some center of excellence, where we could pretend we were a couple. Once I was successfully inseminated, I'd just request a transfer to her OB/GYN for continued care. I swear, my jaw almost hit the floor. My dad, God bless him, finally intervened. He said, "Asking your sister to do something a doctor wouldn't even sign off on. That's a terrible way to try and start motherhood." You could tell he wasn't on board with any of it, but he was trying so hard not to pick sides. He asked her why she was so uncomfortable with the idea of a traditional surrogate. That's when Jeff, my brother-in-law, just exploded. "Don't try to berate my wife with these stupid questions. Talk to your selfish B*TCH of a daughter about why she can't help her sister." The mood in that room shifted instantly. Mike, my amazing boyfriend, immediately started yelling at him. My dad, his face red, told Jeff he would not disrespect his daughters in his home. Everything just went up in flames. Stacy was crying, practically begging me to do this favor for her. I just looked at her, and the words just came out. "Stacy, if I could trade places with you, I would. But I'm scared. I don't want to die." I think that was the first time I'd ever said that fear out loud. After that, there was no resolving anything. My dad asked Jeff to leave. He was completely out of control and refused to apologize. As he was walking out, Stacy told him she'd meet him in the car. But then she asked me to come talk to her on the porch, just the two of us. Out on the porch, she apologized for Jeff calling me AB*TCH, said they were just on edge, and it had been stressful. I told her she shouldn't apologize for him, and we'd figure something out. But she just kept pleading, "You don't get it, you don't understand." I pushed her for more, and that's when she confessed something truly horrifying. Her in-laws had made a cruel joke recently at one of their dinners. They called her a murderer, referring to the child she lost. I was speechless. And then she told me she asked Jeff why he didn't stand up for her. His reply? Because it was true. My blood ran cold. He'd made some twisted comments about her not being able to make up for it, and how he was so excited to see what their child would look like if I carried it. He said he'd never be able to look into a child and see pieces of them both. The way she said it, it was like he planted the seed, but she genuinely seemed to believe it was her idea. She just kept saying she hadn't seen him that excited since they lost the baby, and she just needed my help to get everything back to normal. I tried to explain to her that nothing would ever be normal again, that what she was trying to do was completely wrong. But just then, Jeff started blaring the horn, rushing her. She just said she'd call me later. In that moment, everything solidified. I felt like I might lose my sister, but I was now not even willing to donate my eggs for her to have a baby with him. I'd taken your advice and looked up the egg donation process, and wow, it was not what I expected. I just wanted her to divorce him. I would never help her procreate with that man. I genuinely think I'd be a surrogate for her to be a single mom before I'd ever allow her to place his child in me, or even take my eggs to create a child with him. I had no idea his family was pushing so much guilt onto her. I was practically jumping at my phone every time it rang, knowing she'd be calling soon, and I'd have to tell her that I was terrified, that I might lose her, but I simply couldn't and wouldn't do this. I thought that might be my last update, but things just got crazier. I know I just left off saying I wouldn't update, but so much happened, and I still feel this weird relief just typing out my madness. Many of you warned me to be careful around Jeff, fearing he'd become violent. I didn't listen, and I kick myself for that now. I thought I knew my family well enough, that this was just a bump in the road. How incredibly naive of me. My sister actually called me the next morning, the day after Jeff called me that awful name. But I missed it. I was in the shower. When I called back, no answer. It was a normal day until we got to my father's house that night for football. Kickoff had just happened when Stacy walked in. She asked my dad if he could come outside and talk to her husband. My dad, bless him, said no. The game was on. Jeff could either wait until commercial break, or he could come in and apologize, like a man, in front of everyone he'd disrespected. She took a deep breath, tried to argue, said he wasn't being completely fair, even tried to compare it to some previous situation. It just infuriated my dad. He told her he didn't raise her to make herself small and weak for a man. He said whatever Jeff had done that made her think this was how to have a healthy relationship, he was sorry for failing her as a father. Her eyes welled up, and she just stormed out without another word. Later, after the game, I went out to my car. 2 flat tires, and a broken front passenger window. Dad put 2 donuts on, towed my car into his garage with his truck, and told me to take his spare vehicle. He'd get it fixed, no worries. He asked if I wanted to stay the night, but I declined. I called Stacy. No answer. So I texted her, and a lot of it I'll keep private, but I basically said, I can't believe this is where we are. Loving a man should never call for destroying your family in the process. Her response? That's the problem. My family is already destroyed, and you aren't willing to help me put it together. I tried calling again, still no answer. On the drive home, I noticed a car following me. When I got a better look, I realized it was Jeff's mother's car. I knew it instantly because she has this really distinct decal I've never seen anywhere else. I freaked out, called Mike, asked him to meet me back at my place. As I pulled into my driveway, that car pulled in right behind me. Luckily, Mike was turning down the street just as Jeff got out of his mom's car and started walking towards me. Mike came running out of his car, yelling at him. Jeff immediately started shouting, I just wanted to apologize. I just wanted to apologize. They got into a small scuffle before Jeff jumped back into his mom's car and sped off. He did clip Mike's car in the process, but it didn't seem intentional, and the car was still drivable. After that, I obviously didn't feel comfortable at home anymore. I packed a bag, went to Mike's place, and honestly, I haven't really been back home since. Dad added a camera and floodlight to my back door and driveway, but I'm still not sure I ever want to go back, even though I know I will have to at some point. Yes, I reached out to Stacy again. No, she didn't answer or respond at all that night or the following day. After that, I started noticing it more. A red car following me one day, a black one the next. I know you might think I was just scared and imagining it, but I'd intentionally drive towards the police station, just like my dad instructed, and they'd turn off as soon as the station was in sight. They were definitely following me. Then, Sunday came. I went to brunch with some friends to celebrate an upcoming wedding. The waiter came to me and said, Your husband is up front. It's an emergency. Thinking it was Mike, and she was just mistaken, I went up there. And who do I find? Jeff. I approached him, trying not to make a scene, speaking quietly, telling him to leave or I'd call my dad. He told me everything had just gone too far, and he just wanted to apologize. We were kind of in the doorway. It was awkward with people bustling past, so I suggested we step outside to get out of the way. Once outside, he apologized for calling me AB*TCH, said he didn't mean it. He started saying I didn't understand how hard it was for him. I cut him off. How hard it is for you doesn't matter to me, I told him. Because your behavior is becoming too chaotic and abusive. Not just toward Stacy, but everyone else. He said he understood how I could feel that way, but asked me to, again, reconsider. And then he reached for my stomach. My blood ran cold again. I instantly stepped back and told him he needed to leave. I said we could set up a time to talk with my dad, but his stalking me was a huge issue, and we could talk later or I would call the police. As I was walking back into the restaurant, he grabbed a fistful of my hair. Don't you ing walk away from me. Honestly, I don't remember much after that. Everything just went really quickly. A few bystanders got involved. He ended up fleeing before the cops could even arrive. A report was filed. 2 days later, the audacity. He tried to come up to my airport terminal, telling them he was my husband and there was an emergency. Same BS he pulled at the restaurant. He was arrested after refusing to leave. Of course, he was bailed out. And since then, he's taken to sending me the most vile messages. My sister did leave after the show he put on at my job, thank God. She's currently staying with our dad, but she's been asking me to drop the charges, making excuses for him, and has been very adamant that he didn't hit me at the restaurant. This is despite my literal scalp bleeding from how hard he yanked my hair and the small scratches I have on my neck and arms from him escalating aggressively when strangers tried to help. Some of the texts? Oh my God. He's telling me the vile things he's going to do to me. How he'll get me pregnant and I'll be stuck with him for the rest of my life. How he knows I'm the woman who is going to bring him a son. And if I don't make it easy for him, we'll both die before he gives up. Just truly, deeply concerning things. I blocked his number, so all of these messages are coming from random texting apps. I told the police, and they said there's no way to prove it's actually him. So until he acts on it, nothing can be done. I am literally scared all the time now. Mike drives me to work, and on top of all my regular precautions, I'm doing even more. I can barely sleep. I've been sending Stacy a screenshot every time her husband messages me, and she's just stopped interacting. My dad asked me to stop doing this, saying it's beating her down, but I told him I couldn't even believe she defended him during some of this, and she needs to see the harassment her husband is committing. I feel defeated. I don't even know if Stacy and I can come back from this. I feel like I've basically taken over Mike's life, and I feel terrible about it. He hasn't said anything, but his regular gym visits are sometimes cut short if he has to pick me up or drop me off when I have to work or go anywhere else because I'm scared. Being gone for a day for flights used to allow him to do more of his routine, but now we're basically forced to live together, which I enjoy, but I'm not sure he does. We even got into an argument the other day about the AC temperature. I swear my life is slowly devolving into madness, and I can't breathe. Okay, so this is where it gets even crazier. I know I just left off saying I couldn't breathe, and honestly, things just kept spiraling. As you know, Jeff was stalking me, this deranged obsession with me carrying his baby, and it just kept getting more chaotic. I had his number blocked, but after advice from you all, I unblocked him because the police were saying they couldn't trace the messages from unknown numbers to him. And sure enough, he sent a few messages from his actual number, saying we needed to talk and come to an agreement. Of course, I didn't engage. But the vile messages from strange numbers continued. I can't confirm